everyone, including guests, holding the microphones to their City Club Operations Assistant Maria Dabata and Director of Community Relations Missy Toms. Now, first question, please, Dr. Sanders.
Dr. Sanders, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Okay. Question I want to ask you is in regards, you know that the Ohio Board of Regents has recently did some restructuring to the university system. What is the role of the Cleveland school systems, Metropolitan School System, as it relates to the university structure for the state of Ohio?
Well, I do know that there are conversations that have been taking place at the higher ed level relative to some changes that may be taking place. My position with our schools is to position our students to matriculate out of our high schools into colleges and universities around the region and around the country. One of our primary commitments on our Cleveland Way model focuses on our graduation rates, and we're using a number of specific strategies targeting students at the 12th grade level now, looking at students who are transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade, targeting specific populations. One is the governor's initiative for closing the achievement gap, which looks specifically at the work around African American males and their graduation, matriculation through schools. So our commitment at the K-12 level is to ensure that we send more students to our local colleges and universities and to position them to be successful. And I do acknowledge that there's a lot of conversations happening around our state and around the country about K-16 correlation, the traditional K-12 schools, and then obviously what happens at grades 13, 14, 15, and 16. We're also working very diligently to offer more opportunities for students at the high school level to take more college credit while they're in high school. We're really excited about that. We have students who are graduating from high school with both a high school diploma and an associate's degree and are entering local universities like Cleveland State, and Case Western and others as college juniors at 17, 18 years old. And that's the kind of individualized, customized kind of programming that we want to do. But we certainly want to work with all of our institutions, and we are fortunate in Cleveland to have a number of fantastic higher ed institutions that we feel nicely affiliated with.
Hello, Dr. Sanders. Thanks for coming. It's the second time I've seen you, so I've got 100% attendance.
Very good. So noted.
And I got two questions, one dealing with, let's say, competition in the world market, and the second to do with role models or diversity. And the first one goes to foreign language instruction. You had mentioned that you will be having Chinese taught at one of your schools. And I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on the Chinese, which would be the new or the exotic languages along with the traditional languages. And the second point is what, I don't know if you would look at it as role models or diversity. Is when I was student taught, I noticed the real need for more minority teachers. It's more so that role models for the minority students. And as we know, most teachers either come from or return to school districts that they had grown up in and later taught in. How would you propose ideas of retaining students to come back to teach in the Cleveland Public Schools?
Okay, thank you for your question. To the first question relative to international languages, one of the comments I made in the speech was about the global nature of the school environment that we're in. Our students really do now compete at a much more global level, and being able to understand the trends of the world the next 10, 20, 30 years is where we need to be positioning students today. We can't wait until the curve has passed us by and then begin to try to engage in areas where we need to be. We're already behind, whether we're talking about technology or we're talking about international competition or being able to communicate for business and other purposes with people from other parts of the world. The exotic language, as you refer to, certainly is referred to as the more contemporary foreign languages that students are exposed to. We can do that in a number of ways, either through technology or just traditional classroom instruction. I think what we want to do in the district is be able to offer a variety of of languages that students can take. It is clearly a prerequisite for college admission into universities and colleges, and we certainly want to provide individualized kind of pieces so students can take more than just the introductory year, but years 2, 3, 4, and 4. In terms of role models, I think that clearly there is a need for complete and more diversity in K-12, probably K-16 to boot. And I think that we certainly want to make our commitment to ensure that that occurs. One way to do that is to grow your own. Students who come from our system, who understand its particular nuances, certainly have the potential to be of a tremendous positive impact. But candidly, what I want, regardless of race or gender, is I'll take a teacher or an administrator who loves teaching, who love our children, who are dedicated to their work and committed to making a difference in our district and our community. And I'll take those people any time of the day. I think those are the folks you want to put into your system to transform the work that you want to do.
Dr. Sanders, thanks for being here, and thanks for being an important part of our community.
Thank you, sir.
My question has to do with parental involvement in the student's educational process. How important do you think it is? And in the time you've been here, is it better, same, or worse?
That's a good question. First of all, I think parent involvement is absolutely key. As a former professor, I used to do a little bit of research in parent involvement and school achievement. And all the research will probably validate, and I'll look to my presidents here, all the research over the last probably 40, 50 years will validate the more involved and engaged parents are in the daily educational lives of their children, the higher the academic achievement, the higher the graduation rate, the less the discipline and other issues are in the schools. Our challenge in our district is to make our environment welcoming and warm to parents when they come to us. We must meet them where they are. And if they won't come to us in the schools, we have to make ourselves available to them in the community. One of the research challenges suggests that parents who have not graduated from high school themselves often don't have a positive view of schools. So when they come to school, there's some intimidation. Because if you didn't have a good experience, let's face it, it's not that exciting walking down the halls again, down your elementary or your high school So our responsibility is to make our environment welcoming, to do follow-up, to treat our parents as first-rate customers, not talking down to them, but engaging them where they are. And that's our responsibility to do that. I think we've made some progress over the last couple of years, not as much as I'd like to see. I think we could do a lot better. We've had some significant reorganization of our family and community engagement offices. We now have an office of volunteerism. But I think all of us, from the teacher to the building administrator, all of us can do a lot better with making sure that parents feel comfortable and that we follow up and that we give them the answers that they expect. I tell my staff that it may not be the answer that they want to hear, but it will be an answer that we will supply promptly. And of course, our rule in the district is that we want to return our phone calls when? Those are staff members, 24 hours. And we want to return our written communication when? Very good. Okay. So, but we have a long way to go in that because we want to make people feel comfortable with when they come into our environment. Listen, education is the answer to the challenges that face our community and our nation. When individuals have an education, they make better decisions about their life's choices. And if we want to transform our city, our nation, or America, the way to do that is through education and through educated citizens who become educated adults who raise educated children, and it makes life better for all of us.
Dr. Sanders, always a pleasure seeing you.
Thank you, Judge.
Throughout the country, in large urban districts, I think we have a crisis with this large dropout rate. Have you identified a cause for students dropping out when they do? And do you have any suggestions as to what our community can do? to help you stem that tide?
Okay, thank you for that question, Judge. The challenge of the dropout rate is that it's not a single variable. We oftentimes, Judge, look for that single element, and if we just fix that one element, we will have solved the problem.